So I'm starting off, or we are starting off with Bardhyl Jashari, who's coming from Macedonia. Bardhyl has two very unique, he has lots of qualities, obviously, but what outstanding in his profile is really that he's on the one hand an IT specialist, and he's an NGO activist, and he's really he's the head of the Metamorphosis NGO organization sitting in Macedonia, working across the Balkans, maybe even also beyond. We'll see about that. His prime motivation is really to create, in a conversation, he said, create a fair space for freedom for all citizens in the Balkans. And Bardhyl, we're looking forward to your input here. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yes, my name is Bardhyl Jashari, and I'm the executive director and co-founder of the Metamorphosis Foundation, an independent NGO based in Skopje, Macedonia, and we are operating in our country in the Balkan region, but also worldwide through partnerships and networking with other organizations. We are a team composed of committed democracy activists united in a common cause and the common values of mutual accountability, open communication, freedom, and an unshakable commitment to universal human rights and democracy. We started in 1999 as an informal group of activists. At that time, we were promoting electronic publishing and we were combating the digital divide, providing access to internet, providing content. And later in 2004, we established and registered as an independent organization. And from the very beginning, with our activities, we work and contribute in increasing the quality of life of the people through protecting human rights, innovative use of technology, and sharing of knowledge and information. And our vision as an organization is to really have a society where citizens exercise their civic rights and responsibilities in a meaningful and competent manner, where they are vigilant in influencing and holding their government to account, and thus ensure democratic, accountable, and responsive governance. We have many projects, but mainly they are divided into four programs: Media for Democracy, where we support media, we create our own media, we do training for journalists, and also we reaffirm the role of the media in our society. We have a social accountability program. We have an education for innovation, and where we try to build capacities of civil society organization, activists, entrepreneurs, youth especially, to competently navigate this very complex digital world we are living in. And the fourth program is Human Rights Online. And for us here, it's very important because we focus on strengthening individual rights and freedoms by defining, promoting, and influencing technology policy that impacts our lives. So from this brief introduction about Metamorphosis, you can already tell that for us, digital technologies and the digital world in general is central to the work we do. And from the very beginning, for us, it was obvious that digital transformation of our society is an inevitable process. And it was so even before social media, before Facebook, Twitter, Google, and also before, I would mention the COVID pandemic, because I think that somehow the pandemic imposed and even speed up the digital transformation. But however, what was always important is still very important to us is that we have a people-centric approach. We want to safeguard human dignity and integrity. And we want to always have in mind that technology is not primary, but people are. And we believe that if used responsibly and strategically, the digital technology can amplify the voices and efforts of not only civil society organizations, but also individual activists, and also communities and groups that are somehow excluded. That is why we try to sensitize various sectors, government, businesses, that this people-centric approach should be done in a responsible way, and most importantly, to have in mind that digital technology, like any other technology, should be used in a responsible and competent manner. And for that, we need to continuously educate people, and no one should be left behind or outside this inevitable digital transformation process. I will give you a small example of what we have done, and it happened several years ago, but not so long time ago. In North Macedonia, we had been under an autocratic regime for 11 years, from 2006 to 2017, a regime where freedom of expression was suppressed, traditional media were under direct control of the government, people were illegally wiretapped, and where democracy was narrowed down to voting only. And through time, people went silent. There were no critical voices, or even if there were, they were lost in the noise created by the media controlled by the then government, and also by political party trolls on social media. And yes, indeed, the digital world, the internet, was the only remaining free space for activism, where critical voices may be heard or read, and yeah, where activism was somehow present. And even without the healthy risk from a virus, digital activism was the only way of mobilizing like-minded people critical to government misdeeds. And using digital space, digital tools, the internet is challenging, and it's one thing. However, I would say it's an easier challenge. Why? Because very briefly, we managed to create an online space, a digital space for critical voices. We raised awareness. We conducted online campaigns. We were sensitizing people about the importance of freedom of expression and fundamental human rights. But what was more challenging was to end the spiral of silence. The spiral of silence is a theory of political science and mass communication proposed by a German political scientist, Elisabeth Noel Neumann, in 1974. And basically what this idea is about is that people are more willing to communicate ideas if they believe other people also agree with them and they have the same view. But then with a lot of influence from the media and from pressure from the media that are controlled, somehow this perceived majority opinion is shifting and shaping and changing, and people who think differently somehow become silent, and those people with divergent opinions speaking up gradually spirals down, and they become silent. The result of this is that the perceived majority opinion really becomes the majority opinion. So it was a difficult task, not only because the government was controlling all traditional media and had established several online media outlets as well, but also because the government was the main employer and the main business partner. Why I'm mentioning this, and I think it's very important not only for our country, because in a context like this, people stop fighting and being activists for social justice and equality. It often makes more sense for them to show loyalty to the ruling political party in return for a job, and that job or any kind of other political incentives will be granted for votes. And also, what our experience showed is that most of the time, politics is based on economic survival and hope, not human rights, ideology, or political concept, or even not investigative reporting about corruption and other government malpractices. So it was difficult, but together with other civil society organizations, we worked hard to raise awareness. We organized protests, but the first phase, let's say, of sensitizing people was for them to understand that when the government is doing something for them, when they are, I don't know, buying buses for public transportation, repairing a hospital or a school, it is not a gift, it's not mercy. It's our money, and they should be held accountable for this. And that's how we started.
That's great.
Yeah, and at the end, just briefly, what is very important at this moment and is to fight disinformation, to counter disinformation, and especially because disinformation are somehow making our work difficult, not only as activists, as NGO, but to everybody. but this information warfare operations in Macedonia are very, let's say, intense. And we have seen many types of foreign influence, peddling activities, some with very hostile agenda, aiming to cause distrust and radicalization. And this wave of disinformation and distrust very often use social media.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that for a long time, for almost everybody, it was correct to assume that social media would enable greater access to information, facilitate collective organizing, and empower civil society. But today, this platform is seen as contributing to society ills, polarization, atomization, even that lead to conflict, violence, hate speech, create chaos, and generate fear.
Great, Bardhyl. May I end you here? Because this is a good way maybe to, or do you have a last sentence to say, or can...
Yes, how to fight it as digital activists? We have to fact check, we have to educate, we have to do research, and we have to advocate.
Great.
And this is what we are doing, and we are doing it also online and offline.